Hi everybody. Oh, I'm so happy to see you all today. It's been a little while, like a whole little while here. We've got so much to talk about today. My name's Ross. I'm calling in from Los Angeles, California, and this is the Palimpsest project where we send actual physical pieces of art that we each start and we send them to each other around the world for the next person to successively work on it. We create at each stage a brand new work of art until the very end, where it really is a completely different story, a different work of art that we'll be showing um, sometime in the future. And today we're also going to be unboxing a, I don't know if it's the last stage of a piece, but it's one of our smaller works. And Rose is going to be um, unboxing that. Hi, Rose. How are you today from Vancouver, British Columbia?
I'm good. I'm actually in Chilliwack, Stolo Nation, and
Chilliwack.
I'm good. Yes, that's where I'm surrounded by mountains.
Oh, how beautiful. How beautiful. Thank you, Rose. And a little bit further, which way are we going now? Going east. I'm from New England and I live in Los Angeles. I always still get confused about which way is which. It's just one of those things. But I can find Hollywood. It's just look at the hill. And so going in the other direction is Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. You're in, where are you? You're in
Hey,
Toronto, right?
I'm in Toronto. Yes,
Toronto. And see, you've got brand new work on your easel too.
it's a
Lovely.
commission. Yeah, it's a
Commissions.
kitty
Oh,
cat.
congratulations. Oh, how
Thanks.
cool. Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Denise. Hi, Denise.
Hello.
Originally from far, far away in Netherlands and traveled around the world, and that's what informs your art. And you're in near Montreal, and
Yes.
what's it called there?
Saint Jerome.
Saint Jerome. Oh, that sounds so beautiful. Is it a
It is
beautiful
pretty.
place?
Yeah, it's
It is
nice.
pretty.
It's at the bottom of the Laurentian Mountains. It's very pretty.
Oh, lovely, lovely mountains. Ooh. And Laura, you're in the United Kingdom,
Yeah, I'm in Buckingham, actually.
Buckingham. Oh,
Yeah,
ooh. And
yeah,
you're
a nice little town. It's in north of London, about 1 hour from London.
Was it rolling green hills there or mountains? There are no mountains in
No,
that part of the UK.
hill
Hills.
countryside. It's wonderful, like living in the Sense and Sensibility movie.
Oh,
Ooh,
wow. How
nice.
cool is that?
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, and now we're going to go clear on the other side of the world and it's already tomorrow morning for for Cheryl. And wow, look at all the beautiful work you've got up. Cheryl, where are you? You're in
Oh,
Australia.
Yeah, north of Oka, just up from Sydney, about an hour out of Sydney.
Mm, mm.
Very cool.
Look at all these cool things that are on your wall. What are these small
yeah.
pieces of
Well,
you?
yeah.
Jellyfish?
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, what is that? Love it. I love it. Whatever it is. Flowers? No.
That's a hydrangea, and there's some of my
Oh.
that's my students' work. And the hydrangea is, of course, is a hemisphere. And so what we're doing is that they were just painting. Of course, you go for the dark, the light, the highlight. But some of these students had never painted before. So that was pretty much what they're doing, is just, well, it's a sphere. That's what a hydrangea is.
Huh.
Nice.
Wow.
Simple sort of shapes. And I was putting them up on my wall, and we've got cupboard chops, and I actually had the wall in the other room just full of their work. And I took it down the other day. I was putting up 2023, if that makes sense. So I was
Yeah.
actually packing away all of 2022. So that's what they are.
Oh, how
They
cool.
make a nice, like a work together.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
ones on the
Oh
top
yeah,
don't
they look
fit,
great.
but the hydrangeas look good, don't they?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
inspired by so many things you just said, the way that it's arranged on the wall, that there are hydrangeas, that there's this sphere.
Yeah,
It's all so good. This is sort of really the piece that we're here to talk about today is, do we need to be inspired in order to create? I find that if I'm not inspired by it, my work is completely flat. I remember once in art school, I drew a pair of shoes because, Van Gogh had done a pair of shoes and I thought, well, they're fantastic. And I did them and it's like, I really liked my shoes, but just physically, it was not an exciting picture for me to do. It was like, I just really, it's not that I didn't care. It was just not that interesting. You know, it didn't inspire me to think about other things, to go in other places with it. But how about you guys? How does it work for you? Do you need to be inspired in order to bring about your work?
I'm of two minds.
Wow.
I have two minds. Okay,
Yeah.
let's
That's
hear
a
it.
big question, you know, when you've worked as a graphic artist like some of us have,
Yeah,
because
well, that's true.
honestly, there was a lot of creativity involved, but I wasn't really inspired. I wasn't terribly inspired to, you know, design beer bottle labels and stuff. Like it was sort of counter to my own ethos.
Yeah,
So I was creative.
yeah,
It was my job,
yeah.
but I wasn't inspired.
Hmm. Okay,
Yeah.
Denise has of two minds of this. I've got something to say about what Rose just said too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, sometimes as a graphic designer and an illustrator, what I found is I didn't have an inspiration unto itself. I found something within the beer label that was like, ooh, that part's exciting, and then I
Yeah.
could ride on that. And so I think it's the
Mhm.
excitement part of it that has that. Like it's interesting, right? Not to call it inspiration under those circumstances, but to call it excitement, like to allow the excitement to guide me, right? It's like I'm not
Yeah.
inspired, but it's like, well, that's cool, right? Like, and I would get a sense when it worked. For me, I mean, the client might have said something entirely different, and then ultimately, This is where I agree with you, Rose. It's like the client says, like, well, really, we want, you know, what's the old saw? We want the logo bigger. So, and then it's like, well, yeah, I'm no longer nearly as excited or as inspired as I was, and
Yeah.
You know what,
became the
Ross?
real challenge of it.
You touched on something really interesting there to me anyway. You said excitement. So I wasn't really inspired, but I was excited by it. And I know we already talked about, you know, what is inspiration kind of thing, but I don't think we talked about the excitement, because there is an like when we feel inspired, I think that is coupled with excitement. It is for me anyway, right? The
Yeah.
excitement to create, the excitement to start something new, the excitement to get what's in my head on canvas or
Mm,
on wood or on something. Like
mm.
I think
It's a
excitement and
feeling.
inspiration go ahead. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
total, it's intangible, but yeah, that's
Mm.
my
Yeah, I
kind of
think
take
Yeah.
on
that
it.
touches on what the word Cheryl used was the freedom. It's like there's like
Yeah.
there's an exhilaration attached
Yeah,
to
that was
to
last
that
episode. She said
freedom.
that. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 Sorry, little
Oh,
segue
so
there.
No, it's
so
great.
interesting.
I'm of two minds because on the one hand, being a professional artist, I very strongly believe in just showing up behind your easel and working, and
Yeah.
and doing that every single day, whether it's a good day or a bad day or a shit day or whatever. I am in my studio, and I am painting, or I am doing something relating to painting. So therefore, I feel that in order to physically create art, I do not necessarily need to be inspired to to do the process of painting. However, my process is very much modular. So my
Hmm.
main source of inspiration happens when I create my compositions, and that is something that does require that feeling of excitement, but of inspiration. But for me, that automatically comes when I start going through the photographs that I'm using. So I don't necessarily need to have that to start the process, but I know from experience that it will come when I am doing the process.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
From the
Yeah.
so well
perfume.
I
put.
can
Oh,
understand
that
that.
is
Yeah.
so cool. I want to add to that too, Denise. Um, my wife is also an artist, and she had a
Oh.
wonderful teacher who told her, just like what you're saying, when you arrive at the studio, you know, it's just being there, and inspiration can meet you. And I think Elizabeth Gilbert, the author, has written a book that's really talking about that too, which I wish I could remember what it was called, but I just can't. Something about big creating energy or something like that.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
can't
used
remember what
to.
it's called neither. Yeah, I know the book.
when I wasn't feeling it, I used to I don't do that anymore, but I used to just grab a sketchbook and a bunch of magazines, and I do like little collages. I would
Mm.
just
Mm.
cut out or tear out stuff that I found
Yeah.
interesting
The same
and put it together
thing.
without the necessity of needing to create anything in particular, but just the
Mhm.
process of doing that would get my juices flowing.
The process of doing it.
See you next week.
Bye,
See you next
Stephanie.
week.
See you next week. Cheryl, that reminds me of something that you had talked about before. I can't remember the very cool name for your sketchbook
Oh, no
thinking.
risk, no rules.
No risk, no rules sketchbooking. So how does inspiration fit into that framework or not?
It's the concept of just do it every day, and it's okay. And so you're just getting used to finding objects and things that you like.
Huh.
And you don't even have to like show it or finish it or do anything. So it's no risk, no rules. So there's no risk, no rules with it. So it's that freedom piece again. Use anything that you like. Just it's free. It's pretty much easy. You don't have to rock up to a life drawing class. You don't have to go plein air painting. If you get one small enough, it'll fit into a pocket. Well, I took one, on my bike, and I only had an area about that big, and I took an A6 or an A4 one that fit in the back of my my cycling shirt just with a pencil. I'm just saying they're easy, they're convenient. Take them out for
Yeah, but
coffee with
No rules. Put it
the
where you're
the
going to
thing
use
that
it. Take it with
happens
you.
the thing that happens though when you start to do that as a practice, not just a one time doing it, but as a practice, is that you actually start to retrain your brain and your hand, and you start to actually notice things differently and see things differently
Yeah,
as you're going throughout your day. So it's actually like a synergistic experience, like where
yeah,
you're learning, but you're training your creativity on a different level, like on a true mind body level. It's that you're entering a whole that level of creative activity
Mm.
as
yeah,
a kind of way of thinking. It's like
yeah,
learning another language. Like when I speak French, I
yeah,
have to think in French,
yeah,
right? Like once you crack that code and you realize, oh, I better not just sit here trying to translate in my brain
yeah,
simultaneously, then you kind of like start to exercise a different side of your brain, literally. And it
yeah,
becomes a almost like a muscle memory as well.
Mm.
yeah. I like my students in that, because I lead most things and I give them the subject matter. If they'll arrive and there's a hydrangea there. And when I say to them, you've got some homework or whatever, but the problem is, and if I ask them, what would you like to learn about? They say, oh, we like what you're doing. And I keep saying to them, you've actually got to make some choices or make some decisions. And I love the way that our brain or our eyes, when we're looking at something in our hand, we'll look at that. And then I love the way that we can focus on something out here and how we focus and how we're constantly changing our focus. So we have like a telescope. We're way out here and then we're in whatever is in our hands. And I sort of say to them, whatever grabs your attention is what you like, what you notice. Become conscious of what there is. So I'll ask them with their homework, I sort of say to them, you're drawing the clouds, you're drawing the water. So I always say to them that terrible thing about what was this? What's this about? Is it about the water? Is it about the clouds? Because but I can't do, but I mean, they bring their stuff along and they sort of say, well, help me fix this. And I'm kind of sort of saying, well, I don't really know what your intention was or how you felt about it. Was it, what's the painting about? I don't know. Is it the birds? Is it the love? Is it you've got to give me a little bit more.
Mm. Mm.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Totally. And so wise.
Yeah.
So
So
wise.
So I kind of like call that the telescope, that idea of how we focus, what you're looking at.
That reminds me a lot of Cézanne, how he had, I mean, he's like a precursor to Cubism, and he had kind of seen these different perspectives and
Yeah.
was the beginning of stereoptic scientific experimentation, and
Yeah.
how he had kind of on his own as an impressionist had, I don't know, dissected it or something. Well, Laura, your work talks about light and shadow so often in this dynamic, and I think that's what inspires you. So do you need to actually feel the inspiration for what you're doing in order to bring something into your picture?
I was thinking while I was listening, all of you, that I feel almost I can understand every one of you because I feel the same. And but I was thinking that sometimes inspiration doesn't come when I'm creating, comes in different moment. But when what I need when I create, it's excitement. So I need to feel this excitement, like boiling inside me, like it's growing, like there is a movie when something is growing, glowing, and I need to feel this, and it's it's fantastic when I start something that I feel this emotion that. And I know every time that I feel this emotion and then frustration when almost always, I don't achieve what I'm feeling that I want to achieve. So it's like an inside battle. But the inspiration, the sparkle comes before. During the creation of everything, it's the excitement that I need. The inspiration is like a sparkle. It's like uh, to light something, to make a little fire, but it's the excitement that I'm looking for during when I use my hand or my when I'm writing, for example. I need to feel this, and the same example. I think that I found really interesting the how when I create a painting, there is like almost the same rules also in writing, um, uh, of excitement and frustration. I mean, so yeah, I think answering the question was if I need inspiration to be creative. I don't know. I don't know. I think that I need inspiration before, but I the matter of create is something that I need to do, despite of if I have. Sometimes while I'm painting, I've got the inspiration of what I'm painting. I don't know how to say. I start to paint
Mhm.
something that I like, and then I understand why later why I'm painting what I'm painting. So um, yeah, I think
That's
I hope that I explain myself.
I find it
definitely,
interesting that you
definitely.
say that you need that excitement when you go through the process of painting. Because for me, many times, and maybe that's because our processes are different, painting becomes almost a meditative state
Yeah,
where for me it's very meticulous sometimes, and I sort of lose track of time and get into this zone, and sort of it almost
yeah,
happens by itself.
Mm,
it's true. Also for
mm.
me, it's like this the most of the time. But there is a moment when I try to make space between me and what I'm painting, and is where I look at the painting, and if I feel excitement, it means that I'm going through the right path. But if I feel frustration, it's horrible because I want to destroy everything. So
Honestly, all of my paintings go through like being really excited than being really
Yeah,
super frustrated and like this is gonna be
yeah,
totally shit, and then getting back to somewhere that I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be okay.
but
Until social media, I thought I was the only one that had this kind of cycle. And then I saw this meme that was really talking about that. It's like, oh, we're all going through the same thing, something they didn't teach me in art school. But Rose, you have a background as an arts expressive therapist, and I wonder how the role of inspiration does or doesn't fit into the doing for people that would be participating in an art expressive therapy context.
It has a big role. I mean, inspiration is one of those human things that's intangible, and sometimes it's even hard to define it in a sense, because some you can say I'm inspired by this athlete, or I'm inspired by a painting, or we're inspired by a concept, right? Like or a feeling. So there's different ways of being inspired. But yes, we try to tap into helping the client find that sense of excitement
Mm.
in the process, and
In the
that's where the
process.
power of expressive arts therapy is.
Oh,
It's as Denise said, it's once you start doing the doing,
yeah.
you're doing the doing, and you're entering into the liminal space that you talked about. And as you enter into the liminal space, doing the doing, that's when you open yourself to the inspiration, or feeling it when you finished and you look back and saw what you did. That can often be inspiring.
Uh,
Yes. Yes.
it
It's
pays
a big component.
it pays dividends. Oh, that's so cool. And
Yeah.
speaking of excitement, I've been waiting for this one because you have received a one of our pieces. I don't know who you received it from or
for
what
me,
this is from Laura. Oh boy. Oh
From
boy.
the UK,
This is really
this is
exciting.
having gone through everywhere: Rhode Island, LA,
Oh.
Australia, Saint Jerome, Toronto, and the UK. This piece has finally landed in BC,
In your lap.
and I'm very excited to unveil.
Oh wow.
Da-da-da-da,
Oh
Wow.
wow.
da-da-da-da.
Oh
I don't know
wow.
which way it goes.
You made it
Ever.
come forward, Lara, the hand.
yeah, it was very difficult to decide what to add here because the only thing that also in the intention I wrote that looking at the painting remind me the creation of the universe. So the hands,
Exactly. Oh, that's
also the
fabulous.
fingerprint, yeah. And so I just thought that just add some black around the like the more deeper universe,
The
and
galaxy.
um, I think
Wow,
it's
it's
great.
taken on a totally metaphysical turn. This
It
Yeah,
painting.
has.
Oh
It's
my
fantastic.
gosh.
So Laura, let me understand. You made
just
darker.
just I started just with graffiti. I don't know, graffiti. I think so. Black around, and then I use acrylic to black acrylic to make, and I difumin with the brush, and yeah, it was. But I was happy with at the end because I think it's
You deepened the contrast.
It
Yeah,
completely pops. It's incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
And so who
Look
put
at
the
that,
stars
eh?
in?
I did.
Steph. Who?
So between
Denise.
that and these
Yeah, Denise.
Yeah,
and
I did
and the
stars
darker part.
and planets.
Ah,
Mostly because I was inspired by your spiral. I felt that that was very much. I know it's a fingerprint, but
Cosmic.
it reminded me of cosmic. And then because I know the hand was started by Stephanie, and she's very inspired by
ah,
the whole
The stars.
the zodiacs and the stars and all those kinds of things, I felt it very appropriate to add the planets.
Yeah.
And I particularly did not
exciting.
add Earth in there because I felt that the hand represented our planet.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
How cool, Denise. Oh boy. I'm just amazed how much it really has taken on this dimensionality, including how it did anybody work on more of the shadow from the small hand to the large hand?
No.
No.
So that has just the dimensionality has just increased there just by making the contrast around
Yeah.
it. I'm sure Cheryl
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
tell
it
us
made it
everything,
pop.
how and
It
why
did.
that worked, but I don't really care. It's just
Color
amazing.
field theory, man.
Maybe we
It's
should
got
talk
We
everything.
about
love
it
another-
that
sometime.
stuff.
It's got poetry.
That's another thing
it's
to
got
be
everything.
inspired by, isn't it?
Yeah.
By other artists
Yeah.
and by color and what's on your palette.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
Yeah,
how
Yeah.
beautiful paints are.
So
yeah,
Rose,
just
do you
our
have
materials.
any
inspiring.
ideas that you're kind of
Oh, it's a tough one.
waking up to whatever?
No.
No, it's just so
Yeah.
I think this one in particular has been like really, really consistently successful in kind of different sorts of ways each time. It's
Challenging, but hopefully it'll end up a success. We'll have to wait and see.
we'll
Stay
wait
tuned.
and see. Well, stay tuned indeed. So that brings us to the end of our program today. The Palimpsest project is going around the world, and we want you to join us from all around the world. Please come back, ask us questions, take a look at our work, and we'll see you, I think, next week. Next week,
Yes.
great. Okay, goodbye, my friends. I love to see you. It's been so much fun to talk today.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.